We're now joined by John Lewis and Ben Early of the band Hyland, and the song you guys just sang was This Love Is Free. Tell us a little bit about that song.
This Love Is Free is a song that I wrote really late at night, about 4 in the morning, going through some tough stuff, man. Just really discouraged with just life and stuff like that, and I sat down to write the song, and all of a sudden the whoa, whoa comes out, and I'm like, well, that's way more encouraging than I had pictured. And the song ends up being just really an encouraging, upbeat song, you know, even though that wasn't my mood. And it's kind of a God thing. It's just really about hope and just realizing that God's there for you through your hardest stuff, you know, and He's just working through all of your misfortune to make everything good.
And there's like a million stories out there of how bands kind of become discovered, and you guys have a very unique story yourself. How did that happen?
Yeah, we have a cool story. A buddy of mine was working at a studio in Seattle, and we sent him over some demos and just to get his opinion on it, and he was listening to it on the computer late at night. He was an intern. He's the one who mops the floors and makes the coffee, and so as he left the studio, he forgot to kind of close the window with the song on it, and the producer comes in the next morning and pushes play, and, well, who's this band? He starts asking around the studio, and come to find out it was us. Yeah. So it's kind of a cool story. You work hard for years and years, and it comes down to just kind of like a cool...
Almost an accident.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, you said that you were discouraged when you wrote that song.
Right.
What were you going through in particular?
Sure. Well, it was more of like, it's funny, I had just moved back home with my parents. I had moved out when I was 18.
Oh, we had a show about that last week.
Right. So you move back in when you're like 23, 24, and you're like, oh no, I'm back home. And so for me, it was just more of a, you know, what's the future holding? What am I trying to accomplish? What am I doing with my life? And I was just getting beat up about it and letting my past get the best of me. And to feel the hope through that song and be able to know that, I mean, as soon as I wrote it, I was like, God, I want you to use this song. I want this to be about you. I feel like this was a gift from you. It wasn't my doing. I was not in the mood to write this song. Yeah. And to come through it, just to share the hope that I was feeling that night, it's really, really cool. So.
And you guys are kind of stepping into the spotlight at a time where it's not necessarily easy to be an artist at all, let alone a Christian artist. What's that kind of been like?
Well, now that gas is back up, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think it's tough, but we come into like a new age with iTunes kind of being the thing, and the CD is kind of not as big as it used to be and everything. Yeah. But I mean, it's encouraging that God has kind of brought us to where we are, and we've been doing this for about 4 years and just now getting discovered, you know. But I think that God's timing is perfect. You know, we've discovered that just with how things lined up with getting signed and, you know, management and booking getting on board and stuff. And I really feel like God has put us where we are right now, and we'll see what He does with that, you know.
And even personally, from a personal level, we were just talking about that the other day, about how God wasn't ready to use us because we weren't ready to be used. And as we got our personal lives in order and just really, you know, started giving more to God, it just really turned around, and He started going, well, I don't have to work in spite of you. I can now work because of you and through you. And so the doors just opened at that point. So.
Well, you guys rock. I mean, literally.
Yeah.
You're a Christian rock band.
That's right.
How has that been perceived? How are you perceived? You know, sometimes we say things like, this is not your grandmother's music, but This Love Is Free is for anyone. Right. So how did you come up with, I mean, how did you decide what genre you would be?
Well, I think it comes from, you know, I grew up on the Christian CCM stuff, you know, Twyla Paris, Sandy Patty, Michael W. Smith.
Because your parents were kind of like
right,
that.
Yeah, Stephen Curtis Chapman, that's what you're listening to growing up. And so doing all of that until I was 16, and then all of a sudden going, well, I need to catch up on the music I've heard about and haven't heard. So turned 16, jump in the car and change the station. I started listening to the old rock show. We're talking, you know, like Led Zeppelin and The Who, and trying to get caught up. And so kind of coming back to Christian music, to my roots, combining both that newer rock thing, combining with what I grew up with, it all comes back full circle and it blends in.
Well, what are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have about guys in a band? Because so many times we kind of put you on a pedestal. You know, you play the guitar, you're on the radio, you sing in front of a lot of people, so you don't have to deal with the same problems that normal people have to deal with.
We're really boring, actually.
That's not true. That's not true at all. I mean, up until just a couple weeks ago, we all kind of had normal jobs and everything like that, you know. It's funny when people do come up to us and they kind of put us on a pedestal and they act like we're something we're not, and we just kind of, they're really surprised because we always try to spend a lot of time with our fans, and when we're at shows and stuff, we're not a band that hangs out backstage and does that. We just want to talk to people, and that always comes off as kind of a shock to people, and we're like, it's kind of a shock to us that they feel that way about us, you know. So
what's the biggest piece of advice you think you can give to like the young rocker who they want to make it and they're trying hard, but obviously it's a business where you kind of need someone else to like you. You know, you can't just like go to school and, well, I'm just going to be a rock star now.
Right. I think the two biggest advices I ever heard was, number one, play all in any show you can get. Don't worry about getting paid. Just get out there and do it.
Yeah.
And I remember being a band being like, what? Don't get paid? Well, you know what? It's an investment. And the second thing is write a good song. Just write and write and write and write. And too many people write 4 songs and think that they should be on a stage being rock stars. And it's like, well, John Foreman wrote 60 songs for their newest album, and only 8 made them. You know, and so you look at all the amount of songs being written and the quality that's required to really make a splash now. You know.
Well, guys, in 30 seconds, tell me about you getting your equipment stolen from you. All of your equipment.
What happened?
What happened with that?
well, actually, the next song we're going to play is kind of about that. But we were in between a break from this tour where we were out on a tour like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Got back and we had our trailer stored at our church.
In our church parking lot.
Yeah, church parking lot. And we were going to play a local show. Yeah, and we came back and the trailer was gone.
Everything in it.
They took the trailer, everything we had in it. Yep, all of our merch. We lost about $25,000 worth of gear and equipment and stuff right before we started this tour that
Now,
we're
does
out
the
on
label
right
kind of
now.
come back to you and go, guys, what are you killing me?
Yeah, the label was like, well, we'll give you some CDs for free to help you out. But our fans have been really cool to get behind what we're doing.
Yeah.
So.
And real quick, the new CD is out on May 3rd, which is my birthday, by the way.
Fantastic.
Happy birthday.
Weights and Measures. Tell us real quick about the CD.
Sure. Weights and Measures is just really about us. What are we comparing ourselves to? What are we weighing ourselves against? There's so much peer pressure and social issues in the world that we're always trying to compare ourselves to and see how we measure up. And so the album is really just about how can we get beyond that pressure? What are we comparing ourselves to? Who are we looking up to? And so Weights and Measures is all about that measurement process.
Very cool. The guys from Hyland, don't go anywhere. They're going to be back in a little bit to play another song. What's it going to be?
It's called Desperate Man.
Desperate Man.
Yeah.
And the website is myspace.com/Hyland Rock. Is that correct?
Or Facebook or HylandOfficial.com.
There you go.
Actually.
Or you can go to our website, harvest-tv.com, and click on show info. In the menu bar for more information. We'll be right back with more Harvest Show, so don't go anywhere.